So good afternoon. I'm Lisa Scales, President and CEO of Greater Pittsburgh Community Food Bank. We're honored to have the opportunity to host this press conference. And on behalf of our entire organization, we welcome Lieutenant Governor Davis, Secretary Redding, elected officials, partners, distinguished guests, and media here today. Nearly 45 years ago, as the steel industry here in southwestern Pennsylvania began to collapse and unemployment started to soar, the food bank came to life to support the tens of thousands of people who found themselves struggling to put food on the table. Today, the need for food assistance remains at elevated levels, with inflation continuing to have a persistent impact on the cost of living in every category, including groceries. Unlike the time of our founding, many of the neighbors we serve today are working, but just don't earn enough income to make it until the next paycheck. There is a neighbor-facing hunger in every zip code in our country. We should all find this fact unacceptable. The work of addressing food insecurity is something we all do together. Reducing food insecurity must include the government, the private sector, nonprofits, local institutions like schools and churches, and communities joining forces. We have plenty of great examples of partnerships that are working, particularly with our Pennsylvania farms and their partnerships with both federal and state government. We are extremely grateful for the proposed increase in the state budget for PASS and the State Food Purchase Program, which provide essential resources to source local and low-cost food for our community, supporting both farmers and families. Additionally, the food bank looks forward to working with our longtime partners at USDA and Congress, particularly through the leadership of Chairman Thompson, to secure a bipartisan farm bill. Working together with all levels of government, we can ensure every family can access wholesome foods from our hunger relief network where they need help, and that Pennsylvania farmers can continue to thrive as they work hard to feed each and every one of us. Thank you again. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Lieutenant Governor Davis, a longtime champion for supporting Pennsylvania farmers and families, and we really appreciate working with you to keep food on people's tables.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much, Lisa, for that warm introduction and for hosting us here at the Greater Pittsburgh Food Bank. I want to thank you and your entire team for helping us pull together today's event. Thank you to Secretary Redding for joining us here today and for the wonderful work you're doing at the Department of Agriculture, and all of the partners who are here from the Shapiro-Davis administration. Thank you. To Representative Kincaid, thank you for being such a strong partner in the legislature, particularly around the area of hunger. Your advocacy is particularly important as we come up on the budget season. I want to thank Art King and all the farmers who we've heard from today in the roundtable. Thank you for the work that you're doing here in Pennsylvania to make sure we get food from your farms to tables all across the Commonwealth. As everyone here today knows, agriculture is the #1 industry here in our Commonwealth. It supports 1 out of every 10 jobs here in Pennsylvania. I was reminded of that fact when I visited the farm show this year and saw how many agricultural products our farmers produce, from everything from wine and honey to cider to maple syrup to cheese. Pennsylvanians are growing food in all 67 counties, from rural communities to urban farms like the one I visited across the river in Braddock last year. In all of our Commonwealth, we're all connected. Success for a farmer in Butler County is connected to the success of a restaurateur in Bloomfield or vice versa. Our administration wants to help every Pennsylvanian live their American dream. We want to help families not just survive, but thrive here in our Commonwealth. And we want our farmers to succeed and pass on their farms to their children and to their grandchildren to keep them going for generations to come. Even with all these amazing farms and producers around us, we still have a significant problem with hunger. More than 1.5 million Pennsylvanians are at risk for going hungry, and that includes 1 in 6 of our children. Investing in Pennsylvania farmers and helping them do what they do best, feed people, is quite frankly and simply an investment in our future. That's why our administration has pushed for more investments to support agriculture while supporting Pennsylvania's families, students, and our seniors. These are proven programs that work. They're truly the definition of a win-win. Farmers get paid to produce food. Folks in need can eat fresh, healthy food. Our budget invests $4 million for the state food purchase program and $4 million for the Pennsylvania agriculture surplus system. At a time when everything coming out of Washington is, quite frankly, chaotic and uncertain, you can count on our administration to keep getting stuff done for the good people here in Pennsylvania. As I've traveled all across our Commonwealth over and over again, I've heard from people from all walks of life urging us to take off our red jerseys and our blue jerseys and to put on the Pennsylvania jersey. Grocery prices are up, lots of families are struggling, and we need to focus on helping folks rather than waging unnecessary political fights. That's what we're working to do every single day in Harrisburg with our partners in the legislature and many of the folks that have joined us here today. It's my pleasure to introduce somebody who's been a great partner within our administration from the Department of Human Services, Deputy Secretary Pham.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Lieutenant Governor Davis. Thank you, Lisa, and your team for bringing us all together today, and certainly to Secretary Redding for your leadership. Bringing us together today for an incredibly important conversation each and every single day, above and beyond today. Again, my name is Wah Pham. I have the honor of serving Pennsylvania as the Deputy Secretary of Income Maintenance for the Pennsylvania Department of Human Services. At DHS, we oversee the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, better known as SNAP, here in Pennsylvania, which helps 2 million Pennsylvanians purchase food every day. The SNAP program brings more than $367 million in food assistance every single month to support local businesses, to support our food producers across the Commonwealth, and of course, helping people feed themselves and their families. SNAP is our nation's largest anti-hunger program, but I would certainly be remiss if I said that SNAP is able to do this job on our own. It means we cannot. SNAP is designed to be supplemental, and there may be times that even as SNAP makes a big difference in a family's monthly budget and offers a peace of mind, households can still need some extra support to make sure that they have enough food to eat every day, especially in times of uncertainty like we are in right now, especially as we saw uncertain times during the pandemic, especially as we see them now with rising prices that we are feeling each and every day right now. Our charitable food network, food banks like Greater Philadelphia Community Food Bank and their partner agencies, I think we heard earlier today, 600, they're working every single day to make sure that people who have trouble meeting this most essential need, feeding themselves, do not have to go through these difficult times alone. The Charitable Food Network fills an invaluable role in our communities through the work they do every day to help families ensure that no one has to go hungry, no matter what their circumstances are, no matter what community they hail from in Pennsylvania. Other anti-hunger programs like SNAP work symbiotically with our Charitable Food Network to help keep people healthy and able to take care of themselves, their loved ones, and be an active part of their community. Any changes on either side of this partnership and unnecessary disruptions that are being driven out of the federal government that risk our food banks, that risk SNAP, risk access for food for people who rely on these systems and those who may find themselves at some point unexpectedly needing help, as so many of them often do, as so many of us often do. Pennsylvanians simply cannot afford the personal and community level risk of more people going hungry. I want to say on behalf of DHS and Dr. Secretary Valerie Cush, our team all over the Commonwealth at DHS, thank each and every single one of you for what you do, your dedication to your communities every day, and through working through these needless barriers. We are proud to stand with you. We are open for business. We will continue to be open for business. Thank you again, and I am so proud to introduce Art King with Harvest Valley Farms.
Thank you. I farm with my brother Larry and my son David in Butler County, just 15 miles north of Pittsburgh, and we grow vegetables, 160 acres of vegetables. We've been associated with the food bank since the mid-90s, and we do all sorts of things. They come out, the food bank comes out and gleans sweet corn, and also we distribute to 2 local agencies, Feeding the Flock and the Lighthouse Foundation. And it's been our pleasure to be able to do that too. It's very heartwarming whenever I see people come to the food bank at the Lighthouse Foundation, and they tell me how lucky they are to be able to get our fresh food. But I think that probably every food bank in the state should be able to get fresh food from local farmers. And so I would like to tell my colleagues in the farming industry to try to do more, to try to get more food to the local food banks in the state. That's all, and I'd like to introduce Representative Emily Kincaid. There she is. Hello?
Thank you. Thank you all for being here today. This is such an incredibly important topic. With the uncertainty that's happening at the federal level, we need the kind of certainty that the Shapiro administration is offering. My name is Emily Kincaid. I'm a state representative representing the 20th House District, and I'm also the House Chair of the Hunger Caucus. And so I work frequently with our farmers, with our food banks, with people who are experiencing food insecurity to address these issues at the state level. And the investment that the Shapiro administration is making, $4 million into our state food purchase program, it's a fantastic proposal. And I know that as Pennsylvanians, we can do more to care for our neighbors and our friends. And I want our legislature to be able to meet the need right now, because food insecurity is worse now than it was during the pandemic. And that is something that everybody needs to remember. We are seeing more food come out of our charitable food network, more pounds now than during the height of the pandemic. And that is something that we can fix in Pennsylvania, and we should fix, and we need to invest to make sure that we are helping our neighbors to meet their most basic needs, because there is a difference between surviving and thriving. And if our neighbors can't even get what they need to survive, then we need, as leaders, as elected officials, to do more to lift them up. And I am so grateful to work with the Lieutenant Governor, with the Secretary, with the Deputy Secretary, to make sure that we are doing the most good for the most people with the resources that we have in Pennsylvania, and pushing our federal government to remember that we serve the people. We do not overrule them. And we need to make sure that our government is about service at every
insecurity, and why we were here to really sort of take a test of like what is happening right now, right? All of us are trying to find our footing and trying to, figure out, like, from day to day, okay, what did I just hear, right? What is happening? At the end of that day, though, we want to make sure that folks are also fed. How many folks like to eat? Yeah, I always ask. It's a very simple thing, but so important, right? I feel better when I eat. That's the business we're in, is to make sure that we have a way to bring that from Art's farm and work it right through this complicated supply chain system that we know exists, but also at the end of the day that this is a place that folks get comfort. And there's comfort standing here. I mean, I look around, these are problem solvers, right? This is a problem that we have. Lieutenant Governor noted about our capacity as a state to produce. I'm always amazed. I give those speeches, but I'm also in the back of my mind understanding that we still have, inside of that amazing capacity, is that we've got 1.5 million people who are food insecure, right? Who would raise their hand just as I ask you whether they like to eat. But the second question would be, do you know where your next meal is coming from? And many of those folks could not put that hand up. That's the check, right? That's the as helping neighbors, as the wall is telling me, right? It's right there. That's a piece of it. But the other pieces are equally as important, right? This is built on the frame of a partnership. And what you see today and what we heard in the roundtable is about the partnership. It's a partnership of farms. It's a partnership of the food banks. It's a partnership of governments at all level. It's a partnership with the General Assembly. That is a partnership, and that becomes really important, particularly right now. The other critical partner is our USDA and our federal government, right? Not here, but certainly a critical partner. I want to echo Lisa's point that we are fortunate to have the chairman of the House Ag Committee, G.T. Thompson, who's working with us, and we'll see where all of this lands. But I think in his heart, he knows that this food issue and the connection between production and consumption at all points is critical. It is why Governor Shapiro last week initiated the appeal to the USDA, right? We have been working along for the last several years with what's called the Local Food Purchase Agreement. In some respects, it looks an awful lot like the PASS program that we initiated in Pennsylvania. You can just do more with it. But that program was very successful. 190 farms participated. 190 farms, thousands of people benefited from it. It was canceled without notice, right? Saying it's no longer part of our mission. Well, how more fundamental is the mission of the USDA or even a PDA than feeding people, right? So the governor took the bold step to appeal. That appeal is pending. We are hopeful that in recognition of the growing needs you've heard about today of food insecurity, that they will recognize that partnership, again, is important to them and it's important to each of us. It's critical to the success of our communities. So I'm proud of what the governor has done. We'll see what the USDA does with that. Final point would be that we all focus on the numbers, right? It's the number of people who are food insecure. It's the numbers in our budget. We know that these are issues of not just funding, right? But they're also about policies. It's getting the right policy. And I'm proud to live and work where we do, that we've got the governor and lieutenant governor and their leadership who have the values that represent Pennsylvania, right, that are concerned about how do we really make sure that Pennsylvanians succeed, all of them, right? And if you can access that food where most of us have the privilege of accessing it, great. But if you can't, we care about you. And we want to make sure that you can feed your family and you can raise your hand to say that you're hungry. And you can also raise your hand to say, I know where my meal's coming from. So that's the work that we're doing. I appreciate the partnership every day that we're in it. It is important work. It's the most noble work that we do in agriculture is feeding somebody. And I think that recognition, as we're seeing in this current time, that many things are being revealed. It's being revealed. And at some point, these things that are really important to a functioning society have to matter. Part of that is food. There are many others, absolutely. But making sure at the end of the day that people can eat. If you can eat, you can function. If you can eat, you can go to school. If you can eat, you can think. Right? If you eat, you can work. So it's that simple. So thank you for the partnership. We appreciate the work, certainly of Governor, Lieutenant Governor, the whole team that's here, unified in our mission to make sure at the end of the day that we can have folks in Pennsylvania eat and have that supported by our private interest, the work of the food bank, certainly pulling that in from the farms preferably, but also doing that in recognition of the full partnership, local governments, the federal government. So thank you for being here, entertaining any questions that you may have.
Can you talk about just the purpose and the reason behind gathering people like yourselves at one table to have these conversations as opposed to, just going about your work as usual?
Yeah, thank you. It's a great question, right? So we certainly know our piece of what we're doing around food insecurity. But as we heard in the roundtable, that there are a lot of other folks who are part of that process, who have to make decisions about, do they place an order with Art King for his vegetables or not, right? Do we have the funding to do that? Do we have the right policy pieces? What's the intersect between what we do in the department around food insecurity and the LFPA program that the governor appealed with the SNAP program? So these are all related pieces. The hope was that we would come together and talk about our pieces, and then what does it look like in the whole, and particularly the sort of the call to action. Where do we need to focus our attention now? That was the benefit, and we heard that very clearly. Lieutenant Governor?
Yeah, just to add to that, to pick up where the Secretary said, all of us are interconnected. The work that we do in state government is interconnected to the work that Lisa's doing, to the work that Art is doing on his farm, to the work that's going on in the Department of Human Services. And I think as we have seen more instability from the federal government, which is a significant partner in this work, we have all had to lean on each other more to find a way to continue to deal with these to deliver these services that we've all been delivering for years. I think as we've seen in anything, instability creates a lot of fear and creates a lot of anxiety. And the governor and I have not hesitated in terms of taking action to force the federal government to meet their obligations to the good people of Pennsylvania. But I think in this moment, we all are required to work a little closer together to make sure we're meeting the need. Well, her and then we'll.
You mentioned the instability at the federal level, possibility of funding cuts. I know something people are very concerned about. But obviously, the federal government has a lot more than the state. Can the state kind of fill in all of those gaps, or are you going to have to look elsewhere?
No, we absolutely need the federal government for partnership. There is no world where the state government can just absorb the cuts that the federal government is talking about. And I think we all just need to be very real and clear about that.
If the LFPA funding doesn't come back, what will the impact be on the farmers who are participating in that program and counting on it for the next 3 years?
Yeah, thank you. So we know what the impact is based on having operated that for the last 2 years, right? You'll have 190 farms that will not be producing something or as much as they are, right? It's $13 million in total. So less farms, less food. That's the impact.
And if I can add just for our food bank, it's, yeah, sorry. If I could just add for our food bank, it's a loss of $1.6 million in funding. So we spend $1.6 million with local growers to purchase food.
Other questions, comments? Yeah, please.
Developing with Greater Pittsburgh, so I represent small urban growers and urban farmers. How do you see the role of urban agriculture and small-scale farming working to increase food security, especially in this time of uncertainty?
Yeah, Janelle, thank you. And it's the other reason that I usually add that there's comfort here because of what the Pittsburgh Food Policy Council has done, and having toured each summer in the Urban Ag Tour, and you see this amazing sort of mosaic of things happening sort of out of view, but on the landscape of our urban places, right? Always love the example of being in, on the urban tour and not seeing any garden until the drone goes up and you look behind the house, right? And there's this beautiful sort of garden where people are doing good work. So we are a champion of urban ag. This conversation is part and parcel to the work that we do under the Farm Bill, and I think any place that you can encourage people to grow their own food is a bonus to a community, right? For sure. And we see that on the Urban Ag Tour. So regardless of scale, regardless of the pounds, it's the practice, right? And being able to do things and the pride that comes from a garden every time I see it, or the pride that comes from a field, right? You feel better about it, right? So the urban ag work that we're doing, and we've supported that through the PA Farm Bill. Again, the only state in the nation with the PA Farm Bill. But the urban agriculture piece of that is powerful. It's really important that people also see that as much as they see a food bank. They see food production capacity wherever it is and whatever you're doing. It's part of this story of Pennsylvania, I think, part of our response to how do we get there. Thank you. Yeah, please.
So I don't really have any agriculture in my district other than urban farming. But I think the other piece of acknowledging our urban farms is also recognizing that urban farmers are some of the most innovative people that you will ever meet. The ability to grow the amount of food that they are in these small plots isn't just beneficial to the communities that are immediately around them that they're feeding directly. It's also beneficial to farmers who have 160 acres like Art, because we are learning all the time about how we can produce food better and we can produce it more affordably so that we can make sure that people have access to high quality, nutritious food for an affordable price, and that we're supporting all of our farmers. So, our urban farmers and our more traditional farmers are working together now in a way that is really impressive. And I think Pennsylvania in many ways is leading the way on that, because we're recognizing that we don't need to reinvent the wheel for our urban farmers. They can lean on the fifth generation farmer to learn how to do certain things. And they can also offer to those more traditional farmers really innovative practices. So we need them both to feed their communities immediately, their immediate communities, but also to ensure that farming is able to continue for generations to come.
One of the most sort of powerful urban ag visits that we did was here in Pittsburgh with the Bhutanese community. And I remember, standing there, and they just sort of came out of the community. I mean, they just kept coming into this garden space, right? And they were so proud to talk about, their foods, indigenous foods, and what they were doing. And the garden became the gathering spot. It's the community center. And that was like amazing, right? So in addition to the food and the nourishment, there's also economic development, a sense of community that comes from these urban gardens, urban farms. Thank you. So thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thanks, everybody. Lieutenant Governor, thank you. Thanks,
you.
everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good. Good job. Good. Yeah.
across the whole spectrum about this work, and you live in a state